Walk into any neighborhood, and if they're playing football on one corner, basketball on the next, baseball on the third, and a fight breaks out on the fourth, everybody's going to run watch the fight. Hand-to-hand combat is strangely irresistible. These days, the National Street Corner is on TV, where millions are being drawn to a new kind of fight called mixed martial arts, or MMA. Not long ago, the sport was banned as too vicious for decent society, but mixed martial arts came back swinging, and this fall, a fight was watched on TV by more young men than the Major League Baseball playoff game that same night. This is the story of how a contest once reviled and banished has become one of the fastest-growing sports in America. To get an explanation, we went to two of the experts, but when we found them, they had their hands full. These men are among the pioneers of mixed martial arts in America. That's Pat Miletich in yellow, among the greatest coaches in the sport, fighting Brazilian Renzo Gracie, who helped invent it.
You cannot hide who you are once you step on the ring. If you're a coward, that will show it. You can't hide. It doesn't matter how much money you're getting paid. On the moment that bell rings, the fight comes down. You forget about everything else. You think about surviving. You think about beating up the other guy.
The name Gracie is to mixed martial arts as Ford is to cars. In Brazil in the 1920s, the Gracie family invented a new jiu-jitsu. They challenged all comers and nearly always won. They brought their challenge to the U.S. in the 90s in a contest of styles. Boxers, kickboxers, wrestlers, and jiu-jitsu masters to find out who was the ultimate fighter.
What do you say to people who watch an MMA fight and say that it's barbaric?
For them to understand my sport, I know it's going to take a little bit, for them to accept and understand.
What's to understand? You're pounding a guy, choking a guy into submission.
The first impression is hit him, knock him out, hurt him. But believe it, it goes far beyond that. There's so much technique involved that, to be honest, I think when I see a good fight, I think it makes a Russian ballet look like a uncoordinated body movements.
That's a tough ballet.
Yes. It's a tough one, that's true.
It can be a bloody ballet.
Sometimes. But the blood is the sauce of the whole thing. Believe, it's not blood that is coming out. It's a little bit of pride that you're putting out.
To prevent too much of that kind of pride spilling out onto the mat, fights can end in a number of ways. There's a knockout or a submission, a throat-squeezing or bone-straining hold that would do real harm if the loser didn't tap his opponent to signal surrender. And if the tap never comes, the ref can always jump in.
It used to be boxers were called, okay, this guy's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Now it's, no, you're the best pound-for-pound boxer in the world. These guys are the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world.
That's Renzo Gracie's opponent, Pat Miletich, who blended all those combat styles into one.
Look, most people are more familiar with boxing. So how do you compare MMA to what we're used to seeing?
I would compare boxing to MMA as, checkers to chess. If you take the branches of a tree, all the techniques, if I do one submission hold on you, you have 3 different ways to escape. That's 3 more branches, and I have 3 more moves off of each one of those branches, and then it just keeps going from there. It's very complex.
Complexity will win this match of the masters, where a recent medical study found that MMA fighters are less likely than boxers to suffer brain injury.
There's a lot more options. It's a wrestling match. It's a jiu-jitsu match. It is partially boxing. It's not my only option to stand toe-to-toe with you and beat you in the face.
Pat Miletich teaches all of that in Bettendorf, Iowa. Fighters from all over come to this gym, where Miletich has turned out 8 top champions, including Matt Hughes. Hughes showed me some of the finer points when I tried to train with Team Miletich. They wrestle, they grapple.
Why do I think this isn't going my way?
They maul. Then they work endurance relays with a man on their shoulder. Miletich teaches power, top conditioning.
Pull to the side, grab, take him down, yes, nice.
Renzo Gracie is all about counterbalance and cunning.
Let me ask you this. When the fight...
Fight is over.
Fight is over. Fight is over, question's over.
Renzo teaches the pretzel logic of Gracie's style at this gym in Manhattan, where we noticed there's only one picture hanging. Gracie and a fighter named Kazushi Sakuraba. In this fight in Japan, sponsored by the Pride League, Sakuraba broke Gracie's arm with this hold. Gracie never tapped out. He just let it break.
He twists your arm completely inside out.
Yes.
I see the arm, but I don't see it on your face.
To be honest, I really even enjoyed that moment because I had plenty conscience of what was going on, and I didn't give up. I saw the ligaments going, I heard one by one going away, and I embraced that as a punishment for the mistake that I had.
But your arm is busted. Fight's over. Why didn't you tap?
Because I really believe I could keep fighting even without their arm.
That's the spirit he brought to bear against Miletic when our story began. The two masters, both pushing 40, sized each other up. It was a clash of styles. Miletic seemed in better shape, and he was the heavy favorite. Gracie, the jiu-jitsu grappler, wanted to fight on the ground. Miletic defended against the takedown. But there's a saying in this sport, there are so many ways to lose.
That may be in trouble here.
Gracie climbed the stronger Miletic like a tree, and inch by inch improved his position until he had his arm around Miletic's neck like a boa constrictor. Tighter, tighter, it's over.
Can you say flying guillotine?
Any sport with a move called a flying guillotine is never going to be for everyone. But the combat style the Gracies brought to America just a few years ago is quickly rising above boxing in popularity, at least among those who see beauty in the martial arts.
People see a lot of times fighting as an ugly thing, as a thing that denigrates the human being. In reality, they see fighting on everything.
Everything's fighting.
Everything's fighting. It doesn't matter what it is. You wake up in the morning to get out of bed is a fight, believe it. So fighting is actually the best thing a man can have in his soul.